All right, we are back from closed session, so we'll call the open session to order. And at this point, we'll ask the clerk to read out any actions taken in closed session. Trustee Milchiker.
Yes, on a 6-0 vote with Trustee Pendergrast absent, the board approved an MOU providing for a 4-day unpaid suspension of a classified employee. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if you'd all rise and join with me for our invocation. Dear Lord, we ask for your blessings over these proceedings tonight. Bless our students, teachers, and staff. We ask for your guidance as this board makes decisions to benefit our students, teachers, and staff. We ask for your blessings on all of the victims and family members of the Naval Yard shooting and other senseless shootings that have occurred recently, taking out innocent lives. All this we ask in your name. Amen. And Trustee Milchiker will lead us in the pledge.
Yeah, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And do we have any resolutions or? No? Okay. And we have a commendation and a recognition that will be provided by President Rockmore of IVC. So please welcome President Rockmore.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Padberg. If I could have David Gatewood and Kate Alder and Rachel Manders and Cindy Staggs join me here, please.
And while they're coming to the podium, let me remind you to please turn off your cell phones. We're having problems with our sound system that are interfered with by cell phones, so just turn them off. Go ahead.
Okay, again, thank you very, very much. At the 2013 Graphic Solutions Workforce Technology Conference this past June, titled Charting the Course for R2 Reemployment, South Orange County Community College District and Irvine Valley College were recognized for the Most Innovative Workforce Application Award. This award is in acknowledgement of the technical interface between the California Career Cafe website, now part of a multi-year $3 million grant managed through IVC and monitored by the district, and also Cal Jobs. This is the largest employment opportunity database specific to the state of California. The California Career Cafe project serves the entire state, all 112 community colleges, and is directed by the State Chancellor's Office with support of our local team. I'd like to congratulate all of our members here today on this fantastic award.
Great, thank you.
Here's the award. And I have commendations for each of them.
Wonderful.
Cindy, there you go. And Rachel. There you go. And again, congratulations to all of you. That's a great recognition.
Absolutely, thank you. Oh, I thought he did. Okay, before they leave, just could you introduce the people that are with you individually, if they could step forward once we hear their names. We'd appreciate that.
I'm Dr. Kate Alder. I'm the CTE Project Director at Irvine Valley College.
Thank you.
Cindy Staggs, District Accounting, Senior Accounting Specialist.
Okay.
Rachel Manders, Grants Analyst at IVC and ATEP.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm David Gatewood, Dean of Business Sciences and Fine Arts at IVC.
All right, thank you again, and congratulations. All right, we are now at the point of public comments in the agenda. Do we have any public comments? No. Okay. So we are now at our oral reports, and I will remind all of the speakers that your comments are limited to 2 minutes each. So please watch your time. So we'll start with board reports, and we'll start with Trustee Bill Jay.
Yes, I just have one point to make, and it's a very important one.
What do you want to speak on?
We just heard about a $3 million award that a group of people have worked very hard to achieve. There's another one in the agenda right now for $300,000. People don't realize the tremendous amount of work that achieving these awards and grants take. As an old grant writer years ago, I broke into the business about 35 years ago, dealing with grants. And so I just think that we need to appreciate and understand the tremendous amount of work that is done. First, to achieve the grant, it requires a lot of work. And then after you've received the grant and you start working with it, it's a tremendous amount of work to do it appropriately, too. So congratulations to all those who are responsible for our grant success, and let's hope that it continues. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next report will be from Trustee Jamal.
Thank you, Madam President. I thank you, Trustee Jay, for making that commendation. I second that. I haven't been involved in grant writing myself. I know that there were many people involved in that, Todd, and the whole team here at Saddleback. That's the $2.75 million grant from the Department of Labor is wonderful. Kudos to all of you. You should be very proud. Celebrate briefly, then get to the task of implementing it with the seriousness I know that it needs. I was able to attend the Veteran Services Center dedication at IVC. Very nice ceremony. Many people here were also in attendance, and also attended the IVC gala or the Foundation gala Saturday evening in the little quad there. And that was I think a good. It was a good showing for the foundation. I want to note and thank Wells Fargo, the City of Irvine, for stepping up. Appreciate the donations that they made through the foundation and for the Veteran Services Center, and look forward to hopefully increasing foundation efforts in the future. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Trustee Milchiker.
Yeah, I wanted to also echo the comments of my fellow trustees. I thought it's really incredible to get a grant like this, and thank all of you who worked so hard to get it, and thank you for implementing it. I also attended 3 events at Irvine Valley College this particular month. I attended with many of the other trustees the dedication of the Irvine Valley College Veterans Center, where we had a tour of the Veterans Center, and we were able to really appreciate the work that our veteran centers at both colleges do for our veterans. They have done a lot for us, and now we're giving back to them, and by providing them a very good education and really help in every aspect of their career, getting back into a higher education career and into the job force. I attended the IVC to IVC lecture given by Gary Rybold, who was a forensics and debate teacher at Irvine Valley College, about the students he took to debate with students in China. And these programs are really important in having our students meet with other students of other countries, learning how to deal with them in a business sense and an everyday sense, and really give our students a lot of confidence. And all of these were not paid by taxpayers. They were paid by the individual students who raised money to pay for this course abroad. We also attended the Irvine Valley College 9/11 ceremony and it was very good, very inspirational and moving. And thank Irvine Valley College and Saddleback College for putting on events such as this. I just wanted to mention that if any of you really want to know what's going on at the college, check out the websites. Our websites at both colleges are really wonderful. And download the mobile app from Saddleback College or Irvine Valley College, which has an incredible amount of information, including maps, class schedules, all the teachers' information as to how to reach them.
Trustee Milchiker, your time is out.
Okay. So lots of things out there for people to learn about our colleges if they're interested.
Trustee Pendergast.
Yes. Again, expressing the same as my colleagues about the grant writing, and also attended the 9/11 commemoration at IVC. Was not able to make it to the Veteran Center opening, but I did take the opportunity while I was on campus to get a, I guess, somewhat private tour of the Veteran Center. It's very, very nice, very impressive. I did want to make a note that the old Veteran Center, there was a architectural rendering of a military museum on land of the old Tustin Air Base. It was quite impressive, and I didn't see it. I want to know where it disappeared to, because it was a really, really neat concept of what could have been had the Navy decided to do it, and it really should return and be hanging there. It was very nice. So hopefully you guys can find that and get it up. I also wanted to thank the Exchange Club for the nice lunch they had after the commemoration. That was very much appreciated for all the people that were attending. And last thing, I will be making every effort possible to make it to the water polo game this Wednesday with my old alma mater, OCC, and my new found appreciation for Saddleback College water polo.
Okay, thank you. And my report will come next. I attended the IVC Veterans Dedication, which was marvelous. It's a wonderful center. If you're on campus ever, please go and stop in. It's right front and center at the Student Services, so you can't miss it. And I attended the Foundation Gala at IVC last Saturday, as well as the 9/11 ceremony. IVC has done a 9/11 ceremony every year since the tragic event, and it's always, always very well attended, as this one was. And I also attended Saddleback College's first home football game. So I'm looking forward to some more home games. So that's the end of my report. We'll move on to Trustee Wright.
Thank you very much. I also
Turned it off. Push a button.
push the button.
Uh-huh.
It's not coming off. Oh, there we go. Thank you. I also attended the IVC Veterans Center dedication ceremony on the 30th of August. It was very well done, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to attend. I attended IVC's 9/11 commemoration of the 9/11 on September the 11th. Again, that was very well done. Thank you. I also attended the football game at Saddleback College on September the 14th. I'm looking forward. I think there's 2 home football games in October. I attended last Wednesday the Orange County School Board Association fiscal update meeting. They discussed at that meeting 2 interesting things. One is about the politics involved in local control of the funding formula, and second about the Common Core standards and how that's going to be implemented. I enjoyed listening to some of those comments. I wanted to applaud IVC. They were designated again as a military-friendly school. This is the 4th year that they've done this, and I thought that was wonderful. And then both Saddleback College and IVC have signed a landmark memorandum of understanding with the United States Department of Veteran Affairs to provide vets success on campuses. I'm told that there are about only 100 colleges who have done this, and so there are 2 of 100 colleges, and that's wonderful. And I wanted to, again, congratulate Saddleback College on that $2.75 million grant. That's wonderful. And then finally, there's going to be a banquet for the 2014 Teacher of the Year. It happens to be a very good friend of mine, Dr. Scott Fier, and I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Next, Trustee Lane.
Yes, thank you. I also attended the dedication of the Veterans Center. Very much enjoyed that. I thought the speakers that were invited and spoke did just a really outstanding job, and very prominent place, as it should be for the veterans, to get great guidance and counseling on campus and really to support their academic efforts. So kudos, President Rockmore, for a job well done there. The only other thing that I wanted to mention in my remarks was one of the things I ran across in the Register recently was a picture that featured actually President Mildred Garcia from Cal State Fullerton, but also had headshots, basically, of our two presidents, Todd Burnett and Glenn Rockmore. This was actually something that was touting Cal State University Fullerton and the new pact that they signed with us, basically welcoming our students into the Cal State Fullerton system. So congratulations on that and for helping our students achieve their academic goals, whether it's here at our two colleges or at the state or university systems. That's it.
Okay, great. Student Trustee Robinson.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to congratulate both Saddleback and IVC on their grant awards, and also IVC on the Strategic Transfer Acceleration Resources Agreement with Cal State Fullerton. I'd like to conclude my comments by highlighting a compelling issue facing all California community college students, which is Assembly Bill 955. This bill, if signed by the governor, would allow a pilot program at selected colleges to charge full cost of instruction for courses during winter and summer intersessions. While only a few colleges are permitted this substantial fee increase, the potential for statewide impact does exist. Equal access to publicly funded community colleges is California's greatest social equalizer. Student debt, poverty, and inequality are soaring at record levels, and AB 955 would add fuel to that fire. California community colleges are an irreplaceable driver of social mobility and opportunity. AB 955 is an important issue for all Californians, and if it were to be signed into law, it would create a two-tiered fee system which limits access for students who cannot afford higher costs of tuition. If this does become law, it would create all sorts of unwanted and unintended consequences that community colleges would see. I wish to register my strong opposition to AB 955 and support and encourage the veto by the governor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. We'll move to the Chancellor's report.
Over the past several years, we've been taking several steps to increase our efforts in legislative advocacy and also advocacy with regulatory agencies, and in addition to that, agencies that may be able to give us grants. And in addition to the work that some of us have been doing on that, almost all of our executive administrators are involved in one of the organizations in California that advocate for community college issues, such as the Community College League, the Chancellor's Office, ACCA, various ones like that. And so there's a lot of involvement now. Tonight, you're going to be hearing from our own legislative advocate, McCallum Group, sitting over here anxiously waiting for their turn. And in addition to ongoing legislative assistance that they give us, information to help us take positions on bills, they also, in our district, particularly watch out for basic aid and for the emeritus program. At the federal level, Terry and I have made several trips to D.C. over the last 2 years, and we've been advocating for ATEP in particular, and also veterans. And those have recently come to great success as we've been able to get some good programs mentioned already. President Burnett is going to give more detail in his report.
All right, thank you very much. We'll start with President Burnett, our college president's reports.
Thank you, Madam President. And so many great things going on with our college and district. I'm going to try to race through in 2 minutes. First, I do want to congratulate IVC and the IVC Foundation on a fantastic event. And if you didn't get a chance to see the veterans dance performance, it was really one of the most moving and powerful performances I've ever seen. And congratulations. Second, you'll hear a little bit more about it later on the agenda, but congratulations to all of us, and once again, our partnership with IVC in submitting our Accreditation Midterm Report, which you've all received a copy for your review, and we'll be submitting by October 15th. I wanted to thank our steering committee with co-chairs led by Dr. Bob Cosgrove and Vice President Kathy Worley and former Vice President Don Boucher, and particularly Professor Claire Cesaro Silva for writing that. You already heard a little bit about the two grants. I do want to mention them real quick. And once again, speaking with our collaboration with IVC, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs providing the Vet Success Program at our two campuses. As you're right, as Trustee Wright had mentioned, only 2 colleges out of 100 nationwide have received this, and I believe we're the only community colleges that we know of in California that are receiving it. And that's a tremendous benefit to our student veterans to be able to have on campus a representative from the Veterans Affairs to help them transition to civilian life. You already heard about the Department of Labor grant, of course. If you've said all kinds of messages, you're going to hear a lot more about it. It's a $2.75 million. A couple things. First, it's very the triumph of this grant is, first off, it is the second largest grant that we've ever received for our college. And I want to mention real quick, we have some people in the audience. First, our Division of Health Sciences and Human Services are here with Dean Donna Rain-Sostak and Assistant Dean Tammy Rice and Jennifer Faresh, one of our professors, and Kim Bratch-Stewart had to leave. Why don't you stand up and take a bow? And I'm very excited for our new grants department that we've been building for the last few years, and they had a big win. And I wanted to recognize, first off, our grants analyst, who really was particularly responsible for this grant and working on it, and that's grants analyst Ed De La O. Say hi, Ed. Our director of grants, Roxanne Metz, and our other grants analyst, Catherine Araguen. Thank you all very much for this enormous triumph for all of us. I have to end because of my 2 minutes, but I did want to say that next month, the Chancellor and I have spoken. You're going to be hearing over the next few days a very important press release on our high school partnership program that we just recently signed officially with the boards at Capistrano Valley Unified School District and Saddleback Unified School District. You're going to hear a lot more about it. It's really what we can do in the future for student success. And finally, our State of the College breakfast is on Thursday and homecoming on Saturday, October 19th. I'm sorry, Madam President.
That's okay. President Rockmore.
Thank you very much. I will let most of my written report stand, but I want to take the opportunity to thank all of you for attending the events that were talked about tonight. And thank Todd and Saddleback College for buying a table at our gala. Appreciated that very much, and it was great having you there. Again, appreciate that very, very much. We will find that rendering, and there's a lot of memorabilia that we have, but I ordered a white glove for the first few weeks, so not a lot of things are going on the wall right now, so it's not lost. It'll come back. But also then finally to thank all of the staff that work so hard to make those events come together. I'm sure you all realize the effort that it takes, and there's a lot of folks that work very hard to make that as nice as they are, and I appreciate them as well. So thank you.
Thank you. We are now at the part of the agenda where board requests for reports will be entertained. Do I have any board members wanting to make a request for reports? Seeing none. We'll now move to our discussion items. In 4.1, our Chancellor would like to introduce this discussion item, which is State Legislative Advocacy Update.
Yes. As I mentioned just a moment ago, our legislative advocate for the state of California is McCallum Group. And with us tonight, first one walking to the microphone is Patrick McCallum. The other is Mark McDonald. And they help us sort through thousands of bills that are introduced in the legislature every year and help us to figure out which ones are important for us to focus on and also to take a position. We met with them this afternoon, or this morning actually, and talked about services that we think that we will need for the next year. They're going to talk to us tonight about their firm and something about what they do, and a summary of the last legislative year, what they expect for next year, and they'll probably touch on basic aid and the emeritus program while they're speaking. Following their presentation, there will be plenty of time for the board to ask questions. I've known Patrick for over 20 years. We've been contracting with his firm since 2009, and Mark has been working with community colleges, I think, 10 years. And then
Yeah.
8 years, I guess. Okay. All right. In any event, all right, please go ahead. I know you have a presentation prepared.
Thank you, Chancellor, Madam President, members of the board. I'm sorry to say that I'm the only one here that did not attend the veterans at Irvine, but I wish we could have. But we've spent the day here today. It's really kind of a critical first part of what we do in preparing for next year. And the two words that really come, and I've been on this in the district, I've been in the district many times over the last 25 years, but I haven't been here for a number of years. But it's been a really exciting day. And the two words that really kind of come to me that I see with this district and the two colleges and everything else is quality and innovation. And we've seen a lot of it and heard a lot about it from your chancellor, from your vice chancellors, from your presidents. Mr. Robinson, I hope you have a career in politics or public affairs. That was well written on 955. You need to take that, send that to the governor, give the governor a very well written. And I think that reflects his quality in the way he wrote that. It's a tough thing to do. Be clear, concise, get your message with some is what we have seen throughout the day. So what we're going to do is tell you a little bit about us, because you haven't met us, a little bit how we work, what a lobbyist does, and we're going to be 30,000 feet. We're going to cover a lot of material very high up in order to get through this thing in 15 or 20 minutes. And to give you a little bit of taste of some of the issues that we've been working with and will be working with. So we're your eyes, your ears, we're your travel agents in Sacramento and all the rest. And there are 5,000 bills that are introduced, and each bill gets amended. There is, of course, the Chancellor's Office and their Title V regs. There's the Department of Finance regs. There's the facility stuff, STRS, financial aid. There's all these separate agencies that are coming in that have impact with you. And our job is to look at those, narrow them down, and try to decide and recommend what's in your best interest of this district. We do that by working very closely with the Chancellor and with your Vice Chancellor, is it Vice Chancellor? Director, Flugerman and stuff. And we do this by going through the bills and analyzing them. And then there's a couple of ways that we do it. So what we do is every Monday we identify 5 issues. And we put this on it, and we send it in advance. So Terry has to go back, and if it's a student success issue, student services issue, facility issue, get some feedback. And she's on the phone with the Chancellor's Office, the League, and some of the other large district clients. And this is really where you are affecting policy throughout the state that not only affects what we do, but affects what the Chancellor's Office and the League does as well. Once we've identified some issues like we were talking about today, it's creating the analysis, putting the arguments together like Mr. Robinson just did on 955, creating coalitions around it, finding other similar districts that are within it to kind of move the agenda. So that's sort of the kind of what we're doing in a yearly basis. But again, we started off today we identified some issues, and we heard today from the Chancellor and the Presidents what their issues are. And what we're going to be doing is thinking through those issues and coming with recommendations in the next month about how to implement those.
Okay. Worried myself there. I just blacked everything out. But, okay, I'm going to go over briefly the last legislative session. As Patrick noted, from the 30,000-foot perspective. So the first thing is, in 2013, we had about 40% of the legislators were new legislators. and they were elected under the new term limits law, so they're going to be around for 12 years. And really in 2013, they were just feeling their way around. We did see a little bit more collegiality because members did know that they would be there for 12 years and working with each other for 12 years than we have seen in the past. The other thing we saw and we've seen for the last few years is this emphasis on accountability and student success, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but with that comes some knee-jerk proposals that would actually hurt community colleges. So some of those that came up in the last year were this proposal to change the census date again, which we've seen the last couple years, and fund on college completion. A proposal to limit student credits to 90 units, and then another Board of Governors fee waiver change that would limit the number of students that would be eligible for that fee waiver. Some of the other issues that came up, the Proposition 39 funds or the clean energy funds, they're going to be distributed through the Chancellor's office, and I'm going to go over some of these initiatives later on as well. But this is one of the issues that came up with SB 173, the Emeritus Program. We maintained adult education and the funding in the Chancellor's office. And then there's new pathway money, which we talked about earlier today, that deals with agreements with your local K-12 districts and creating pathways into the workforce. There's now money available to fund those. So the other issues that we're seeing are the implementation of the Student Success Task Force. And this is a bill that went through the legislature a few years ago, and now we're seeing its implementation through the Chancellor's office. And as Patrick talked about earlier, it's not just legislation that we're watching, but also regulations. And this is what we're seeing on the student success side of things, that policy is being made in the Chancellor's office. So one of the issues was this student success categorical program, and there was $50 million funded for that. And we learned today, and we've talked a lot today about some innovative software that your district is developing that could be a part of the Student Success Task Force implementation. There was also the implementation of the Student Success Scorecard, a student salary tracker, and then some regulations around the Board of Governors fee waiver. The next slide, this just looks at a breakdown of the budget funding for this year. As I said, the Student Success Categorical, there's maintenance money, additional money for EOPS, DSPS, some online education money, CalWorks money, and money for the Academic Senate as well. So that's a general overview for from 2013. Things are exciting for 2014. I'll turn it back over to Patrick to talk about some of the initiatives that we see coming down the pipeline for next year.
Madam President, are we going fast enough?
Fine.
Okay. So these were some issues that we put down before we came here today, and if we had after our meeting today, we would have added some other issues. But one area, and you have been doing some innovative things in this, Irvine Valley College has an innovative program with their high school there. But we've been asked by the governor's office to come up with a proposal on concurrent and dual enrollment. We are the most conservative system in the country about funding community college classes that are connected with high school classes. So we are going to be working on a proposal that will probably tie pathways, CTE pathway courses, where we can collect full FTE. And I think this is going to be a big opportunity for this district. There's been a lot of discussion around success, around remediation. There are a number of proposals. We've heard about contextualized learning and accelerated learning, high school bridge within it. There's some discussions are going to take place of whether we recreate funding formulas and categorical grants around remediation. 15 states offer BA degrees. I think it's 70 different community college districts offer BA degrees. This is going to be a big topic this year. whether a community college district, I mean, you got a very good allied health program here, can offer a BA within the allied health. The issue is going to be our four-year colleges are going to be, at this point, opposed to it, but that's going to be on the table. On the table, the governor basically, we were able to stop 173 and stop the raid on emeritus. He did put out $550 million that's going to be available in 2 years, and there's a grant of $25 million how to put that together, and we talked about that today. That's going to be an opportunity for you to figure out how you position yourselves for what we call non-credit positions. It may be CTE courses at the Tustin facility and stuff like that, but at stake is $550 million in 2 years. And so how you put that together, what the negotiations around, we're going to be very involved with your district around that. Depending on what number you use, STRS has anywhere from an $80 billion, or with the new actuarial analysis, to $160 billion unfunded deficit. What they've said to fully fund STRS, which is most of our retirements here, you would need to increase the employer-employee rate by 8%. That's 8% of full income within it. There's no, you would be like a 7% cut to the district. So how do we come up with this unfunded liability? It's going to take employee, employer, and state contributions. To how fast does it go? What do you do? How do you do it? We're going to be heavily involved in that and consulting with your district about how that takes place. There will be a negotiation that will take place about what kind of bonds go on the next 2014 ballot. We know there's going to be a water bond. That's already been postponed. There's a big debate and need for an educational bond. When they do an educational bond, it's K through university. And there's two pieces of the debate. The first piece, and I've been heavily involved in this, is we took it from 33% for higher ed to 50%. That was a fight. CSU and UC want to get it down to 33%. But the other part of this is if we're successful of getting this through the legislature, signed by the governor, and it's voted by the, you now have $40 million for a building at Saddleback, a gateway building at Saddleback, and a building at Irvine Valley College. So you have about $90 million of projects, of which you would get about half from this bond. An audit fee, it's, the audit fee is less now than the student fee, so there's some discussion about increasing audit fees. Tracking students in the workforce, this is where the Obama administration is going, where the Department of Ed is going, where Congress is going. They're talking about even tying Pell Grants and accreditation to this issue. There is some information now that is with the Student Success Task Force, so you're going to see much more CTE workforce orientation. We're going to be carefully involved about how this takes place. And given all the reform that we've been involved in, we have a report card, we have more reform than any other area in higher education. We're going to try to make sure that reform is thoughtful and that it doesn't create unintended consequences. And frankly, we just got money for the first time in 6 years. We've got reforms going on. Just stay back, legislators, and let us have a couple of years and see the great innovation that's happening in these colleges, and they'll show you what they can do with student success money. Regulatory issues. So, Student Success Task Force. This is where I would have added what we've learned today, the very innovative stuff that Irvine and Saddleback is doing, your software that you have on students that can map their student success, stuff like that. We think there could be some opportunities of trying to help you get grants and other money within it. The career pathways, this is going to be an opportunity to negotiate new pathways with high schools. And if we are able to negotiate the pathways, this is where the dual enrollment funding comes in, that you get funding for it. Implementation of Prop 39, we were able to keep that. Very important that it wasn't RFP, that it went to projects that were already pre-funded. And like I indicated before, you're going to see the Student Aid Commission kind of following where the federal government is going on wage and placement data.
So, I know basic aid is very important to the district. So I wanted to go over just to give you a brief overview on basic aid and what are some of the issues kind of percolating in Sacramento right now. Well, there were 2 basic aid districts that were added in the latest budget year, from 4 to 6. And consequently, what that did is its interaction with the budget and, quite frankly, an oversight in developing the budget at the Department of Finance level created about a $9.5 million deficit statewide, not for basic aid districts, but for other districts. Now, there's the allocation that you have is in the Constitution, so it's not going to change, and they're not going to try to take that money away at all. But I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what's going on statewide. The other thing is we're doing is we don't anticipate any major issues in basic aid on the horizon, but we're maintaining a constant ear to the ground on that issue. A few years back, they changed K-12 and redirected some K-12 basic aid property tax money to the other districts. We don't anticipate that at this time happening, but that's something that we're always watching out for. Adult education, dealing specifically with the emeritus program. SB 173, I know that at a board meeting that you had here one time, you got quite a few letters delivered to you about this bill. But one of the things that it did was it defunded programs for older adults. And we were successful in stopping that bill in the Assembly Higher Education Committee. We put together a pretty strong coalition. It included AARP and seniors and a number of organizations that opposed the bill. But there is pressure from the LAO, the Legislative Analyst's Office, and from other groups to move those programs out of state funding. And so we'll continue to be vigilant about that. Senator Carol Liu from Pasadena is the chair of the Senate Education Committee, and she has vowed at least for another year to continue pursuing this issue, possibly more. We may even see a hearing in the fall on it in her capacity as Senate Education Chair. So, real quick, I touched on these. These are initiatives that we saw in the past year that are going to continue moving forward regulatorily. Proposition 39, this is the energy efficiency funding. About $6 million will go out to workforce and workforce grants, so your grant writers will be busy again. And then about $40 million will go out on FTES for projects that have been approved and have a checkoff list. And we were actually successful in getting some budget language to expedite the money going out of the Chancellor's office. Adult education, Patrick touched on earlier. There's this $25 million to create consortiums with your local K-12 districts. And, some of the things that are going on here at the two colleges would be perfect, we view, in providing some of the short-term CTE or vocational ed that is going to be needed. And we plan on helping you position yourselves in partnerships with your local K-12 districts or other college districts to access this future stream of potentially $500 million that would fund these programs. And then finally, the career pathways money. This is the $250 million that was included in the budget that we touched on. That will go out to districts to create pathways with K-12 districts in moving students quickly into the workforce. And those regulations are being developed at the Department of Education, but they're in coordination with the Chancellor's office, and so we'll be working closely on those as well. And then there's just a list of items that can be funded. You'll see community organizations creating streamlined pathways into the workforce. And Patrick, you want to talk about 2014 very quickly?
Well, this is what we spent today mostly trying to get a really sense of your district, what's really happening here with the college presidents and the chancellor, And certainly we want to hear from the board and stuff like that. And so we create 2014. And that's why we're here today, is to see what's on your mind and hear from the college presidents and all the rest. We will continue to work very closely. There's a weekly call that we're on with Terry and stuff like that, and kind of help you figure out a very strategic way how you take these, I'll call them multiple pathways of different funding sources. So you really had this prioritization of working more closely with high schools. Well, that's where the money's going right now, or adult ed, and help you figure out in a strategic way so you can get your Tustin facility up and going, you can keep the innovation going, and keep it as streamlined as you can towards success. So that's going through this thing really fast, and of course, if you have any questions on any of these areas.
Yes,
glad to answer
Trustee
them.
Prendergast has a question, so I'll recognize him first.
Yeah, good presentation, and I appreciate your updates by email. I actually do read those. The question I have is dealing with the adult ed issue. I know I teach in a K through 12 district, Tustin Unified, and I know we've been looking at this issue as well as working with the community colleges. It's easier for K through 12 district because it's only got to work with IVC locally, really, maybe Orange Coast, maybe Rancho Santiago. Whereas our district, you got all of Capo Unified, you've got Saddleback, Irvine Unified, Laguna Beach. I mean, it's a large number of K through 12 districts that we're going to have to work with. And then on the back burner is Senator Liu chipping at it. I mean, what are your sense of? Is this a daunting task that is? I mean, are we going to get help on this? It just seems to me very, very complicated.
Well, I think the career pathway discussion and the adult ed discussion with high schools should be coordinated in a strategic way together. And I'm not sure, this is the presidents are going to have to figure out, but each president have to figure out what high schools they want to work with. And maybe Irvine and does a different thing. The money, the adult ed money is going to come to districts that self-identify. Yeah, we want to negotiate with these high school districts and this community college district want to negotiate. So you guys are going to have to self-identify. This is on adult ed, and that's $550 million at stake here that you're looking for. And maybe in Tustin, I'm just saying this, maybe they decide to do at that new facility, you do the short-term vocational CTE stuff. It's $2,700 per FTS, and you don't do ESL and citizenship. I don't know. You're going to make some negotiated decisions with it, but the state's going to require a negotiated agreement between the high schools and community colleges, much as it took place in 1968 when it first took place. The pathway, the money is going to go through Department of Ed, and they're I think, in fact, I found out yesterday from Steinberg's office that they're looking for additional funding beyond the $250 million. Well, if you reach an agreement, now you're going to get full FTS for every student you educate in that pathway, or remediation, or maybe it ties into your adult ed and all the rest. So I think it's putting that together, and it's complicated. It can be done. It's an amazing opportunity for really to speed up what high school students and community college students can do. The rest of the country is doing this. We're in the Stone Age in California when it comes to dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, pathway agreements. So exciting time. I know there's tensions between high schools and community colleges, and I've already heard it in some ways, but it sounds like you have already started that process. I heard from the Irvine Valley College program today where they're literally the students are coming out at 18 with an AA degree.
Yeah.
So putting that stuff together is going to be very exciting. And there's FTS, which depending on your basic aid level within it, the basic aid level, maybe there's additional growth money that comes in with it.
All right, we have other questions, please.
A little long answer.
Yeah, but the good news is what you referred to is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's models all across the country that we can turn to.
Well, I think what they've done on this is that every district's going to be different. What LA and LA Unified does may be different than what Tustin and Irvine Valley does. But the opportunity is there for you to figure out within those current 10 areas, and that's base funding within it, and it's going to be, there could be some limitations within it, how you structure that.
Our staff has already started to work on that. Trustee Jamal now would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, both of you, for coming down to our district today. As you mentioned, your presentation was at a little bit of a higher level. Many of the issues you addressed affect most of the community college districts in the state, with the exception of possibly basic aid affecting a smaller number of districts. So I'm wondering, what do you see specifically over the next year, given what you know about our district, of opportunities to sponsor legislation or secure additional funding over the next year that are really specific to this district?
Well, I think that we need to figure out a way to take your Tuscan Center, and once you really create a very strategic plan between the two, I know, as it allied health and all the rest, and really go there very specifically. And there may be federal funding and there may be state funding within it to build those programs within it and create relationships around it. We clearly, the Emeritus program, you're probably a little more supportive of that than some other things, so that's going to be particularly oriented to this district. There is a couple of CEOs, and Gary knows them quite well, that rattle their swords about basic aid and all the rest, and look at what the K-12 did. So I think we always have to be guard on that on the basic aid side. And I think there's some potential with this. You have an amazing IT person who's put some amazing software together, and I actually even think there could be some monetizing of that in some ways, but that could become a model. That's a tougher one. So I think those are areas that we could work specifically.
All right, thank you. Trustee Lang, next.
Yes, thank you. I also want to thank you for your presentation tonight, as well as the ongoing communications that you've had with all of us. I think we all find that very helpful in terms of keeping up to speed on what's going on. You mentioned the amount of money that might be included from our, relative to our district in a statewide bond initiative. And is your sense that that's something that will be supported by the legislature and the governor? And if so, do you feel there's an appetite on behalf of the population to support that?
There definitely is an appetite by the legislature. The pressure, the K-12 pressure, UC pressure. I mean, they've not passed a bond since 2006, a school bond. So you're talking, 8 years, and it's going to be 10 years for a bond. So the pressure's really built up, and that pressure's on the legislature. The 2014, it's going to depend on the economy, the voters. To predict now, in a year or two, where voters are going to be. It's a 50% vote. It's not a 55% vote. So it'll be a lot of support behind it. It's failed before, but I'd be bullish on it at this point.
All right, thank you. Student Trustee Robinson.
Yes, I also appreciate your presentation. I wanted to get your opinion on AB 1358, which was sponsored by the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, which would allow, if signed, would allow local student bodies to increase the student rep fee at their college by $1 to assist in governmental advocacy work. The CSU system and the UC system both have this in place already. Do you feel that if this was signed by the governor, it would empower community college students to advocate for protection of their education, such as the UC system and the Cal State system?
Yeah, I definitely do think that it would. The other thing that bill does is it reduces the threshold for the election to 50%, and you had it at I think it required a 2/3 vote. But I know that at the beginning there was some discussion that since Prop 30, there shouldn't be any fee increase, but I know this is a fee that the students would impose on themselves. And I do agree that it would empower you at the statewide level, and the students have had some great statewide leadership the last couple years. As you know, I'm sure it's at the governor's desk right now awaiting signature. So.
Yes, thanks.
Great. Trustee Milchiker?
Yes, several things. First of all, I really enjoyed the presentation and wanted to thank you for a lot of things, including helping to defeat the 90-unit cap and a lot of the other things. One of the, and certainly helping us to cash in on, or help us help our students get some of the funding for some of the innovative programs we already have. Trustee Pendergast is already at the high school where they have the program with Irvine Valley College in his high school where the students graduate from high school and from community college at the same time and go on to higher education. So it's a wonderful program. So if we can get additional funding for that, that would be fabulous. I wanted to ask you a little bit again about AB 173, the bill by Carol Liu from Pasadena. I watched the hearing, and it looked like the coalition that was put together was incredible, but it looked like it was made into a 2-year bill. So it's not dead. It was made into a 2-year bill. So I know that your office went to meet with Carol Liu and talk to her about it. And my first question is, what is the status of that bill now? And can we take the defunding of senior adult education out of that bill and have it go forward, or what is your feeling?
That's a great question. It being a 2-year bill as opposed to being dead is more of a procedural issue than anything else. So any bill that doesn't pass in the first year of a 2-year session, and we're in the first year of a 2-year session, is automatically a 2-year bill. If it doesn't pass in the second year, then it's dead and it needs to be reintroduced. But as you know from watching that hearing, it was fairly clear that she did not have the votes in that committee to get it out, particularly the way that the bill was crafted. And I think the major issue with the bill was that it defunded programs for older adults. In fact, I had one member come up to me and say, gosh, I couldn't walk down the street in my district without having someone come up and talk to me about this bill. So that said, it's something that the senator really wants to continue pushing. It's something that actually her staff is really pushing. So it's going to take some work and some continued meetings over the interim and over the fall. But I don't think they have the votes right now to get it out of that committee with that provision in the bill.
That's what it looked like. It looked like everyone was so worried about it, they didn't want to deal with it now. They wanted to make it into a 2-year bill.
Right.
So, also, Governor Brown has fiscally supported the growth of adult education in his recent budget, but what do you think? Will non-credit older adult courses be maintained in Governor Brown's plan, do you feel?
There's kind of 2 tracks working for adult education, and that's a good question. And at the risk of kind of getting too much into the weeds here, the base funding that you have that can fund programs for older adults was what Senator Liu wanted to eliminate in her bill. So by stopping that bill, it maintained your base funding to fund those programs. And the programs for older adults was one of 4 programs that bill would have defunded. Now, working kind of on the other side is this Adult Education Non-Credit Consortium, $25 million planning grant with the promise of an additional $500 million coming in later. Now, that money only goes to fund short-term vocational, ESL, citizenship. It does not go to fund programs for older adults. So the idea is that you would still be able to maintain the programs for older adults with your base funding. You'd maintain that flexibility within your budget if you wanted to, however you wanted to use that money, but that the new money coming in would not go towards that.
Thank you. Trustee Wright has questions.
Patrick and Mark, thank you very much for your presentation. Just one simple question. You mentioned 2 additional basic aid districts. What are those 2 districts?
I was trying to name them off as I was coming here. San Jose Evergreen flipped, and I believe West Hill, yeah. West Valley, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that presentation. We appreciate it. All right. Next, our discussion item is on district-wide strategic plan for 2011 to 2014. And please introduce yourself. We're going to have our financial people present this, I believe.
Just her.
Oh, just her? Oh, okay.
Good evening, President Padberg and Board of Trustees. I'm Denise Ensiong, District Director of Research Planning and Data Management. And what I'm going to present tonight is our annual progress report on the district-wide strategic plan. Excuse me. Grab this. You have the full report in your agenda, which is about a 60-page report. And what I'm going to do is highlight the goals and progress to date. So we're in our second year of implementation of our 3-year district-wide plan. We have 6 major goals, 14 objectives, and 76 action steps. On June 26th, the District-wide Planning Council met to review, evaluate, and document the progress on the strategic plan. And to date, we have completed 42%, or 6 of the 14 objectives, 70% of the action steps, or 54 of the 76. So I'm going to try to highlight the major accomplishments, the details in the report. So I'll go through 6 slides on the 6 goals, and at the end, I will talk about our new planning cycle, which, because it's such a short plan, we're already planning for the next cycle. In Goal 1, the district will create a district-wide culture characterized by mutual respect and collaboration. So around this goal is identifying barriers, the board policy on mutual respect, the Chancellor's enhanced communication with employees, and a relocation plan for district services. This year, the Chancellor and the Presidents formed work group to address the top 5 barriers. And at our last District-wide Planning Council meeting, the Presidents presented recommendations from the work group. We also completed our first district-wide climate survey in the fall of 2012, and I think you saw the results. And the Chancellor's Office has continued its efforts to communicate to all employees with newsletters, monthly board highlights, district updates, and district-wide forums. This year, in terms of 13-14, the last year of the plan, we want to make sure that we continue the work with the barriers to implement the recommendations, looking at the board policy on mutual respect in the Board Policy Administrative Regulation Advisory Council. And the relocation of district services is addressed in the Educational Facilities Master Plan and is part of the prioritization work of the Capital Improvement Council or Committee. Goal 2 is all around supporting innovations around student preparedness and success. And as you know, this is at the forefront of the district work. In our plan, we were sort of early on with creating objectives around completion, professional development, innovation. And as you saw this last year, the Chancellor created a venue for sharing the initiatives at the college. There were 7 board presentations jointly presented by faculty and staff at Irvine Valley College and Saddleback College. But we're continuing to do this work. It's actually going to be a major focus in our next cycle of planning. And you'll see that in our integrated planning model as we bring that forward to you. Goal 3 is around maintaining our technological leadership and making future advancements regarding student access and success. This goal is all around creating our first district-wide technology plan and getting evaluation and feedback on this district-wide technology plan. So this past year, the district-wide tech plan went further development and created a draft of a district-wide IT operations plan. We're hoping that this year we complete both of those plans with review and feedback from the district-wide community, and we're going to continue to fine-tune the integration of technology with resource allocation. Goal 4 is all around effective use of resources and implementing a cycle of integrated district-wide planning. So this goal was really all about creating our strategic plan, our decision planning and decision-making manual, our first district services administrative unit review process, and also articulating resource allocation. So a majority of this work in our last progress report was completed, but we're in the stage of evaluation and assessment of all of these planning documents and processes. So we're going to be looking at how we learned from this year and this planning cycle to inform our next strategic planning plan. Goal 5 is around documenting and implementing data-driven decision-making processes. Part of this was, as I mentioned in Goal 4, the Planning Decision-Making Manual, and also developing a district-wide climate survey. It would assess the climate, our decision-making processes, and resource allocation process. So that was completed in the fall of 2012. The results were compiled and distributed in the spring of 2013 and also reviewed at our district-wide Planning Council retreat. We hope to continue and further analyze this climate survey and understand how to improve our planning processes. The last goal is around assessing the educational needs of the community within the district boundaries and pursuing joint ventureships with educational institutions and business/industry. This goal was, if you look at the objectives, a lot of it is about defining ATEP, developing the site, and you've heard a lot about the progress of ATEP. So this plan touched upon that, but you've heard a lot about ATEP development. The piece that was in particular that we accomplished this year was our first external scan, and we did that in the spring, and it was actually coordinated by the Collaborative Brain Trust, and they helped us prepare the demographic analysis, enrollment trends, and labor market analysis. It was presented in May at a district-wide presentation. So we'll continue to look at this and figure out how the information that was provided in the scan will help us on our planning documents. And you'll also see further ATEP development with establishing an MOU for coordination of college curriculum. And this last slide is really talking about this last year of the 3-year plan, and that we really are almost complete. We have a third left of the action steps and objectives to get through, but we're really focused this year on our new 6-year plan. The District-wide Planning Council approved a 6-year cycle with the 3-year midterm assessment. It's really going to be integrated. So you see me standing here tonight, but in the next coming years, you'll see the colleges together with me presenting our integrated district-wide plans that will also contain the college plans. We're working on common goals and objectives and key performance indicators. So hopefully by the summer of 2014, we will have those finished.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. It sounds very exciting. Trustee Jamal has a question.
2 quick questions. Thank you, Denise. Very succinct. Appreciated that. Maybe I read it incorrectly in the report that we got in the agenda. I read some comment that it took over a year to schedule a meeting regarding collaboration and cooperation. It seems that doesn't send the right message.
I think probably in the details, individual work groups had different challenges. I think maybe one of the work groups had a hard time scheduling it was the 5 barriers, and I think one might have had a hard time just scheduling.
Maybe it's communications, one of the barriers.
Right, yeah. So, and we've been talking about that in our district-wide planning council meetings. We have a lot of meetings. Yeah.
Okay, and then my second question is on the district-wide climate survey. Mm-hmm. I know that we've received it. Is there going to be any type of an analysis done of that survey?
Yeah, a request at the retreat was to get together with the researchers, the directors of research at the colleges, and they're actually doing their employee surveys at the colleges this semester. So the directors and I have been talking about making sure that we look at it again as their surveys go out to see if we can get a better response, because the response rate wasn't as good. But to really figure out what things we can do the next cycle to get a better response rate, as well as analyze the results. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other requests to speak, thank you very much. We'll move to our third discussion item, and that's Saddleback College, Irvine Valley College Accreditation Midterm Reports.
Basically, any questions?
Oh, well.
No presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. For this item, it's no presentation, but does anyone have any questions? You've gotten material on these midterm reports. And Trustee Prendergast has a question.
More a comment than a question. In reading over it again, very, very nice job. It's really good to see positive news coming out, and we'll take it. Nice job.
Excellent. We will now move to the consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled off the consent calendar? Trustee Wright says 5.2 is to be pulled off. Okay. Looks like that's the only one. So with that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Trustee Jay moved it, and looks like a second by Trustee Pendergast. So let's vote on the consent calendar with the exception of 5.2. Trustee Jay. Okay, carries unanimous with a unanimous vote and a student advisory yes vote. So now we'll go to 5.2. Trustee Wright, would you like to comment?
I noticed there was an increase of $46,000. I just wanted to know, what was the reason for that? This was dealing with the...
Yes. This is related to the ATES project Swing Space.
Okay.
And additional design work was done to take a look at different site locations related to the Swing Space location to make sure that it met the college's needs both in the interim and long term.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Has everything been done as far as sites where things are going to be held or where the different sites are going to be located?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this item. So moved. Trustee Lang moved, second by Trustee Wright. Let's vote on the item. Okay. Carries unanimously with a student advisory yes vote. All right. So we will now move to 6.0. Let's see. 6.1. Where are we here? 6.1. And that item is Saddleback College Cogeneration Central Plant operation, and I believe we got an adjusted exhibit A, page 1. So who is going to present this item?
I'm going to ask District Director Brandy Delana to come up and go through this item. It's rather complicated.
Okay, thank you.
And given the complication of this item, I may be looking to Jen Ozervich for some technical assistance on this one.
All right.
So this item is about the maintenance on our cogeneration plant here at Saddleback College. We have had previously a consultant that worked for us to maintain these facilities. Their contract expired, and it's necessary for us to go out to bid for new services. It's a 5-year-long contract, and I'm here to take any additional questions.
All right. Seeing a question from Trustee Lang, I'll ask him to speak.
Yes. Okay. So I guess maybe I was a little confused. It wasn't for a new cogeneration central plant type operation, but rather just the maintenance contract associated with with our existing facilities.
Correct.
Or is there a new capital aspect of this?
Not at this time. However, when we build the sciences building, a portion of that project will address improvements at the central plant.
Okay, very good. And I guess the only other question that just came to mind from the McCallum Group presentation was, is this the kind of project that might be eligible for Prop 39 funding?
Not the maintenance of this project, but the future project with the improvements at the central plant would be one of those projects.
Okay. And then I think the only other follow-up comment that I had was when, and maybe this really is reserved for the future project, it seems to me that there are significant federal tax credits available for energy efficient projects, like possibly not this, but like that, that ought to be considered either in terms of our negotiations with whatever vendors we would do business with, and that may be something that I could share some ideas with you about.
I'm looking forward to that. Dr. Fitzsimmons shared those ideas with me this afternoon, and I looked up the tax codes that she referenced and couldn't find the information, so I'd love to have more conversation with you about that. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Pendergast.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bid amounts, and there's a huge disparity between the two, and there's always that spider sense in the back going, are we going to get what we pay for here with that much of a discrepancy? Was the one organization just way overbidding and they blew it? Or, I mean, have we analyzed what we feel is an actual cost of what we expect?
Look at the two the Veolia Energy Solutions, that's the second one on your list, and Johnson Controls is the third. They are the two that provided us the bids. Notice that the base bid for Veolia was 2.6 and their alternate was 2.3. If you total those two, it comes to approximately for $5 million. Now, the Johnson Controls gave us a base bid of 4.2, and while we didn't get into an analysis of their bid because they were the second low bidder, our conclusions based on the numbers are that perhaps there was a misunderstanding, a way the scope of work being allocated to the alternate and the base bid might have been addressed. We think that's what happened there. We have a great deal of confidence in Veolia. When we were going out for bid on this project, they were very responsive with requests for information during the bid process. They drilled through this entire project, and again, we have a lot of confidence in their performance.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, let's have a motion on the item, please.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Jamal, seconded by Trustee Milchiker. So let's vote on the item, please. Trustee Milchiker? And I myself, okay. Carries unanimously with a student advisory yes vote. Very good. We're at 6.2, authorization of payment to a trustee absent from the board meeting. And that's Trustee Jay, was absent August 26th.
I move approval.
Moved by Trustee Milchiker, seconded by Trustee Wright. And I guess Trustee Jay, you'll need to abstain. So let's vote on the item.
You don't have to abstain.
I'm abstaining.
All right, very good. He had abstain. Help him out there, Trustee Jamal.
The abstain button.
Okay, perfect. So it carries with one abstention and then 6 yes votes and student advisory yes vote. Very good. 6.3. These are board policy revisions, and it's for review and study. Trustee Lang has moved it, seconded by Trustee Prendergast. So seeing no questions, let's vote on the item. Trustee Jay? Carries unanimously with one student advisory yes vote. So we're at 6.4, board policy revisions, and this is for approval, discussion and approval. So these are policies that are actually being revised, and the revisions are in the policy. Do you have any questions or comments? Moved by Trustee Lang, seconded by Trustee Jamal. Let's vote on the item. Trustee Jamal, you need to vote. There we go. Carries unanimously with a student advisory yes vote. So we're at 6.5. This is academic personnel actions. Do we have any changes, Vice Chancellor Breguet? Okay. Moved by Trustee Lang and seconded by Trustee Wright. No questions. Let's vote on the item. Carries unanimously with a student advisory yes vote. 6.6. Classified personnel actions.
On item J1 inside Exhibit B, to change the date at request of the employee Daryl Cox, the retirement date to become effective instead of December 31st, it would be December 30th, and retirement effective December 31st at his request.
What was that now? What page are we on?
We're on page 9.
Page 9?
J1. Exhibit A.
Oh, Exhibit 8. Okay. I did too. You said B originally. So J, page 9 of Exhibit A.
J1.
And then we're going to change it, the effective date to what?
December 30th, 2013, and retirement effective December 31st, 2013, at his request.
Okay. All right. Trustee Jay has moved it with those changes. Second? Second by Trustee Lang. Seeing no questions or comments, let's vote on the item. Carries unanimously with a student advisory yes vote. So we are now at 7.1, and these are standard items. This is the Teacher of the Year recognition ceremony for information only. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll go to 7.2. This is information about speakers for both Irvine Valley and Saddleback. Comments or questions? No? Let's go to 7.3. This item is a district basic aid report. Okay. Heard a little bit about Basic Aid earlier, so no comments or questions. 7.4, Facilities Plan Status Report. Okay, seeing none, let's go to 7.5. And this is the Retiree Trust Fund. Comments or questions? Okay, 7.6, Monthly Financial Status Report. Let's go to item 8, and these are our reports from our bodies. Okay, so we'll start with our Saddleback College Academic Senate.
Hi, Dan Walsh, Saddleback College Academic Senate. I'll be brief because I'm obviously losing my voice. I'm happy to sign the Accreditation Midterm Report as, in my role as Academic Senate President. It reflects the positive state of the college and the district, and this is very different than when I joined the Academic Senate 5 years ago. And that was a climate of mistrust and antagonism that was toxic. And with the changes in the administration at the district and college, it's a night and day difference. I like coming to work now. And in the end, our students' benefit is that's who we can focus on now instead of fighting with each other. So thank you.
Great, very good. And our Faculty Association?
Good evening.
Paula?
First of all, I'd like to report that I met along with the representatives from the other unions with Jim Rogers in Maintenance and Operations at Saddleback, and we are moving forward on the building renovations on the little building out on Marguerite and College Drive. The good news is that we're moving forward. The bad news is we won't be able to get in until spring. But progress is being made. 6 faculty members from our district will be attending the CCA, Community College Association Fall Conference in San Jose in early October. And we continue to make preparations for contract negotiations. And finally, with regard to AB 955, I'm happy to report that both CCA and CTA are working to oppose that bill. And as we all know, CTA does have a certain rapport with the governor, so we're hopeful that maybe that won't come to fruition.
All right, thank you. Irvine Valley College Academic Senate President.
Kathy Schmeidler, Academic Senate President, IVC. Again, as has been mentioned many times, we had a wonderful event to open the new Veterans Center. We've had a Veterans Center, but this is the new improved version of the Veterans Center. We also have a new full-time faculty member in counseling who deals with veterans and veterans affairs, and so that's really going to, I think, boost our ability to help those students. And they need it, so that's a really good thing at IVC. And I'd like to echo what Dan said about the accreditation report. Ours is still in draft form, so we're still cleaning up the details and the grammar, but the content is there. And at IVC, as at Saddleback, this reflects a much more positive attitude overall. It's not to say that there aren't still things that we need to do, but we are now district-wide and college-wide, I think, a group that can continue to move forward instead of battling with each other. I think we can all be rowing in the same direction, bailing in the same direction, whatever metaphor you want to use, but working together to improve the situation for everybody who works and studies here. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And we don't have our Vice Chancellor of Technology, Vice Chancellor of Economic Development, Randy Peoples, tonight, so we'll move to our Vice Chancellor of Technology, Rob Bumucci.
It's that time of year when our IT directors, Jim Gaston, Jim Faniff, Jeff Doors, are going around to any college group or district services group that will have them and discuss the projects that we worked on last year and what we have slated for the next year. Also note on the network, we finished the wireless refresh, and we've just received nearly 300 edge switches. Those are the kinds of devices that go in the closets in the buildings, and we'll be collaborating with the college IT organizations over the next few weeks to install those.
Great. Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, David Bouquet.
We were preparing for our administrative unit review, we call them AURs, and we put together some data for it, and we were a bit surprised by ourselves in human resources. In 2011-12, we processed 17,665 applications for employment, and then in 2012-13, we did 16,236 applications. Keep in mind that any time you make a mistake, it could involve a lawsuit. Based on that, we hired 79 permanent classified staff, 56 full-time faculty, 24 administrators, managers, 365 part-time faculty, and 841 short-term temporaries, while we investigated 35 formal complaints, which were always very interesting. And then with all that happening, we maintained a 99% accuracy of personal items and board agenda items. So it's kind of fun data I thought I'd share with the board.
All right, thank you very much. Vice Chancellor of Business Services, Deborah Fitzsimmons.
I thought I'd clarify something that was presented by Pat McCallum in the presentation. There was a statement made, I think that maybe might be misinterpreted if I didn't clarify it, regarding basic aid districts and when they become basic aid. It actually does assist the other districts statewide when that occurs, because then they're not utilizing the state dollars that are associated with those two districts, and then those dollars get spread out to the other remaining districts that are on apportionment. I think what they were referring to, though, was a calculation that was done by the Department of Finance and related to backfill, related to RDA, when the RDAs were dissolved and successor agencies took place. There was an estimate of revenue that would be then ultimately go to the state. The DOF calculation forgot to remember that the basic aid districts do keep their funding locally. And so it wasn't just attributed to the two new basic aid districts, but to all 6. So I just want to clarify that, because there is a positive impact to the statewide system when additional districts become locally funded. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Irvine Valley College Classified Senate President, Vincent Cooper.
Good evening, ma'am. Vincent Cooper, IVC Classified Senate President. Always great to see you. We've had some lively discussions at our Senate meetings about tobacco-free campuses and all that kind of good stuff. Special thanks to Vice President Linda Fontanella for offering a wonderful seminar on student mental health, what to look for, since we have a lot of contact with students. Also written a resolution on behalf of the IVC Classified Senate encouraging the California Community College Board of Governors to include classified staff in professional development. And I would, it was great to have all these different events on the campus, but I would like to recognize one employee at IVC. His name is Rob McKee. He's the gentleman for the past month and a half out in the blazing heat, setting up chairs, tables, canopies, stages, practically every day. And I would like to recognize his fine work that he's done for IVC without a complaint. Thank you.
Wonderful. Did he help land the helicopter?
Probably. Thank you.
All right. And our California School Employee Association President, Scott Green.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees. Good evening. Just a couple of items. This is going to be a maintenance and operation report. Locally, we're working on a plan to give more classified employees chances to advance. We have a plan that we're hoping that will be implemented. I want to thank Dr. Bouguet and the district for being able to accept the plan that we're working on, and we hope to have that implemented very soon. CSCA has a plan that they're rolling out for maintenance and operation workers across the state. What they're doing is they're providing training for Cal OSHA so that they can be prepared as well. The first training will happen in November 2nd and 3rd in Northern California, and then next March, it's going to be here in Southern California. So we're trying very hard to get maintenance and operations, some of the unsung heroes, some of those that can't be seen, to be involved community-wise. And we're, like many programs that we're providing, we're hoping to have a lot of training, not just for maintenance and operations, but for a lot of the different constituent groups within CSCA. Thank you.
Thank you. Saddleback College Classified Senate President Mike Sauter.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Board, for the opportunity to talk. Since I am obviously last tonight, I'll keep it concise. But what I wanted to do was highlight some of the good work that Classified Senate has been doing over the past month. It's been a busy month. It's been a good month. There's been a lot of good work that's happened. But just to give you an idea of the level that Classified is involved with at the college and the district, we have been a part of and participated in a lot of different committees and working groups across the campus and district. Just to name a few, we have the Basic Aid and Allocation Resource Committee,
the District Resource Allocation Committee, the Board Policy and Administrative Regulation Committee, the District-Wide Planning Council, and which the strategic planning and district-wide goals were developed recently. And Friday was the first session for Saddleback College to start brainstorming and working through some of these objectives to implement the district-wide goals. And I would just like to give a thanks to the president for including us in this and offering his support for the staff to be there. We had over a dozen staff attend and participate in these work groups and these brainstorming sessions. And I couldn't be more proud to see the turnout and the amount of work that was put in on that one day. And there's going to be a lot more in the next month as our timeline is incredibly accelerated. And then well, you know what? That's actually it. So thank you so much, and appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We have no representative from our Police Officers Association or our two student government groups tonight. So that will conclude our meeting. Thank you, everyone, very much for attending.